So usually when we talk about big cultural events, we focus on the sights, the sounds, maybe the food. We sort of paint this romantic picture.
Right.
But today, I want to look at a massive event, the Baishatun Mazu Pilgrimage in Taiwan, from a completely different angle. I want to look at the grit.
And not just the grit of walking hundreds of kilometers. We're zooming in on a specific kind of survival guide, really.
For who?
For the most vulnerable participants.
Yeah.
We're talking about the elderly, people with disabilities, and, specifically wheelchair users.
It's such a fascinating pivot. You take this ancient spiritual tradition and suddenly you're looking at it through the lens of extreme logistics.
Exactly.
And we're basing this deep dive on a discussion with Dr. Hsu Yi-teng, who really breaks down the accessibility or the lack of it in this pilgrimage.
It's a huge reality check because the Baishatun Pilgrimage is famous for being, unpredictable.
Totally unpredictable.
The deity's palanquin has no set route. It goes where it wants. For an able-bodied person, that's an adventure.
But for a wheelchair user?
It's a logistical nightmare. A total nightmare.
Before we even get into the gear and the strategy, I was really struck by this one rule from the source material. It's almost harsh. Dr. Zhu calls it the rule against princess syndrome.
It does sound harsh, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You'd expect a religious event to be all about, come as you are, we will care for you. But the experts are very, very clear on this.
No princess syndrome.
Do not show up with princess syndrome.
What does that actually look like in this context?
It means you cannot go into this environment expecting to be served. You can't just show up with a heavy wheelchair, no supplies, no plan, and just assume the crowd will part for you, push you, feed you, find you a hotel.
So the core philosophy is self-reliance.
Self-reliance to receive heaven's help. That's the phrase Dr. X uses. You have to prepare as if you are doing this completely alone.
So God helps those who help themselves, basically.
Very much so. But, and this is why this is so interesting, there's this massive exception to that rule. The source material shares this incredible story about a young woman with Down syndrome.
I remember this part. She was walking alone, wasn't she?
Yes, probably college-aged. And she's dragging one of those little wire vegetable carts.
The kind you see grandmas using at the market.
That's the one, just a flimsy metal cart.
And she didn't have any of the fancy gear or a support crew.
No, she was a total rookie, But when Dr. Yus asked her how she survived, how she found food or a place to sleep, she said something that it stops you in your tracks.
What did she say?
She said, Mazu sends people to take care of me.
Wow. So that's the princess scenario actually working.
It is. She described it like clockwork. When she was tired, someone would just appear out of the crowd and hand her a big cardboard box to sleep on.
And then when it got cold,
an older lady just materialized with a blanket. She was completely taken care of.
It's a beautiful contrast, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have the princess warning for most people, but then this genuine miracle of community for someone who truly needed it.
Exactly. But for the rest of us, or for anyone planning to tackle this who isn't relying on a miracle, we have to go back to that self-reliance rule.
And that starts with training.
Hardcore training.
And this isn't just, go for a jog around the block. The source details the regimen of Dr. Zhu's own mother. And honestly, it sounded like she was prepping for the military.
It's a great case study because she's an older woman, retired. She didn't just decide on a whim to join. She treated it like a pro athlete would.
So she started months in advance.
Months. She started with single-day walks. She would walk just to accompany the deity out of the city, or maybe just for the return leg.
Just testing her limits.
Testing her limits. Then, once her body adapted, she ramped it up to 2 or 3 consecutive days.
That makes a lot of sense. Progressive overload. But I was really interested in the specific metric she used for her gear. The weight limit.
The 1/10 rule. This is crucial for older adults or anyone worried about their joints. She insisted that her backpack, fully loaded with water, towels, food, could not exceed 1/10 of her body weight.
So if she's 60 kilograms, the pack is 6 kilograms, max.
Strictly. And that is so much harder than it sounds when you're packing for a multi-day trek.
I bet.
But the physics are undeniable. Over 30 or 40 kilometers, every extra half kilo feels like a brick. For an elderly person, that extra weight isn't just tiring, it's exponential stress on the knees and hips.
And she practiced with that weight on?
Oh, absolutely. She would wake up early on holidays and walk from, say, Daxi to Ying or Shulin.
That's a serious walk.
It is. We're talking 10, maybe 20 kilometers a day with the loaded pack. She wasn't just training her muscles, she was training her equipment. She needed to know where the straps rubbed, where the weights sat.
That level of discipline is just incredible. But physical prep is only half the battle, right? The source mentions that for this pilgrimage, you need to train your brain too.
Especially if you have mobility issues, because remember, the route isn't fixed. The palanquin might suddenly veer down a narrow alleyway or across a river. If you were in a wheelchair or walking slowly, you can't just follow the noise. You need to know exactly where you are.
So it's about tech literacy.
It really is. Dr. Yu talks about how critical it is for elderly participants to learn to use their smartphones, to use the GPS apps. They have to track the deity's location in real time to anticipate movements.
It's almost like a military operation. You need situational awareness.
That's a perfect way to put it.
There was also this concept of being a good guest. I think a priest mentioned this.
Yes. This is about the cultural prep. The analogy is that joining the pilgrimage is like entering someone else's home.
You don't just barge in.
You don't just barge in and put your feet on the coffee table.
Yep.
You need to know the house rules. Understanding the taboos, knowing when not to talk, where you can and cannot walk. It's about respect.
So preparation isn't just about survival. It's about being a worthy participant.
That's it.
Okay, let's talk about gear. Because when I think of hiking, I think boots. But there was a surprisingly heated debate in the source material about footwear.
The great shoe debate. It seems like every participant has their own theory. Some swear by high-tech hiking boots. Others claim those are too heavy and they wear cheap flip-flops.
Flip-flops. For a 400-kilometer trek, that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
You'd be surprised. Some veterans swear by the airflow, but Dr. Zhu had a very specific recommendation.
Which was?
5-toe socks.
The ones that separate each toe, like gloves for your feet.
Exactly. It's all about friction management. When you walk that far, your toes rub against each other thousands of times a day. That friction creates heat, which creates blisters between the toes.
And the socks eliminate that skin-on-skin contact.
Totally. It's a game changer.
That makes so much sense. Now, here is where the deep dive really gets deep. The gear advice for wheelchair users. I just assumed you'd bring your wheelchair.
That is a rookie mistake, and a really painful one. The source is adamant. Standard hospital wheelchairs,
The kind you get issued after surgery.
are completely inadequate. They are heavy, the wheels are often small, and the ergonomics are designed for sitting in a hallway, not for pushing over rough ground for days.
So what's the alternative?
You need a sports wheelchair. Something lightweight, rigid, maybe designed for basketball or tennis. You need efficiency in every single push.
Speaking of pushing, if you're the one doing the pushing, whether it's yourself or a helper, your hands must get destroyed.
Absolutely shredded.
So people wear gloves, I assume.
They do, but standard gloves don't really cut it. They slip or they bunch up and cause blisters on the palm. Dr. Yu revealed this pro tip that I thought was just genius.
Okay.
The experienced wheelchair users don't go to a medical supply store for gloves. They go to a sporting goods store.
What are they buying?
Baseball catcher's mitts.
Wait, really? Like the big leather gloves?
Well, not the huge mitt itself, but high-end batting gloves or catcher's gloves, things that are designed for extreme grip and impact protection.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Think about it. A batter has to grip a bat with immense force without it slipping, but the glove has to feel like a second skin.
It's the perfect crossover tech.
It is. You need that friction to control the wheel, but the fit has to be so tight that the glove doesn't become the thing that blisters you. A loose glove is worse than no glove.
That's the kind of insider knowledge you just can't Google. Okay, so we've got the catcher's mitts, we've got the sports chair, we are on the road. Now we enter what the source calls the logistical gauntlet.
And the first enemy is blisters. But for wheelchair users, it's not where you'd think.
Not on the feet.
No, on the buttocks, pressure sores. It's a really serious medical issue.
And I imagine treating that is complicated.
It's a nightmare. Think about the environment. You're on the side of a highway with thousands of people. There are medical tents, sure. They're fantastic at lancing a blister on a heel or wrapping an ankle.
But they're open-air tents.
Right. You can't exactly drop your trousers in front of a crowd.
Of course not.
The medical teams often cannot treat these injuries because of privacy. So if you're a wheelchair user and you feel a sore developing, you are on your own. You have to find a private space and have your own supplies. You cannot rely on the roadside medics for that problem.
That leads us to the biggest, most stressful challenge mentioned in the entire text.
The three urgencies.
Hunger, thirst, and the restroom.
Mm-hmm.
Hunger seems easy, right? From what I've seen, people are constantly handing out food.
Hunger is a non-issue. You will probably gain weight on this thing. But the restroom, Dr. Zhu calls it the boss, the final boss of the video game.
Is it just a lack of facilities?
It's a lack of accessible facilities. You can find a porta potty anywhere, but you can't roll a wheelchair into a standard one. So you're hunting for gas stations, schools, government buildings.
And the lines must be massive.
Unbelievable. And this is where the social contract gets really interesting. Dr. Zhu argues that wheelchair users have to be assertive. They need to skip the line.
Really? Just roll to the front.
It sounds rude, but think about the infrastructure. There's usually only one accessible stall. That stall is the only option for the wheelchair user. For an able-bodied person in line, it's just a nice big stall. They can use the others.
So it's like a handicapped parking space. They have priority.
They have priority. You have to claim it.
But what if you can't find one?
Right.
Or you're stuck in a crush of people and you literally can't move?
Then you go to Plan B, and this really shows the dedication of these pilgrims.
The diaper solution.
Adult diapers, yes. The source notes that sales of adult diapers spiked noticeably during the pilgrimage season.
It feels like such a taboo topic, but logically it makes perfect sense.
It's purely tactical. Dr. Hsu discusses it quite seriously. It's a mental hurdle, right? As an adult, choosing to wear a diaper, it affects your dignity.
Of course.
But if the choice is wear a diaper or miss the pilgrimage, many choose the diaper.
It's about prioritizing the mission over the ego.
Precisely. And the advice is technical, too. You need high-absorption, tight-fitting brands. You just treat it like another piece of gear.
There's another resource we need to manage besides our own biology, and that's electricity.
Yeah.
For the electric wheelchair users, this sounded so stressful.
Range anxiety. It's a real thing. If you have an electric car, you know the fear, but it's way worse here.
Because of the crowd.
The physics of the crowd, yeah. Dr. Hughes explains that stop-and-go driving just kills batteries. If you are cruising on a smooth road at a constant speed, you get maximum range. But in a pilgrimage, you move 2 meters, stop. Move 1 meter, stop.
That torque to get moving again drains the power.
It eats the battery. So a user might think, I have 20 kilometers of range, I'm fine. But in those conditions, they might only get 10.
And if your chair dies in the middle of the crowd?
You are a stationary boulder in a river of people. It's a disaster. So you have to carry heavy backup batteries and constantly scan for outlets. It adds this whole cognitive load that walking pilgrims don't even think about.
So you've survived the day. You've managed the battery, the bladder. Now you need to sleep. And this is where the logistics get really sophisticated.
The nanny car strategy.
This sounded like a military extraction.
It basically is. Because finding an accessible hotel room on the fly is impossible. They are booked months out, or they just don't exist in the small towns. So organized groups use a support vehicle.
How does that work?
The group walks all day. Then, at a designated point, a van picks them up. It drives them, sometimes 45 minutes or an hour away, to a hotel in a bigger city that they booked weeks ago.
And then brings them back the next morning?
Brings them back to the exact spot to resume walking.
So they aren't sleeping on the roadside?
Usually not. But Dr. Hughes does mention that if you do have to sleep rough, say in a school corridor, there is one piece of kit you cannot forget.
Let me guess. Mosquito coils.
Mosquito coils. Yes, it's such a small detail, but it saves your sanity. He told this story of waking up terrified of mosquitoes only to find a stranger had set up a coil right next to him while he slept.
That community care again.
It's always there.
Okay, let's talk about the climax of the event, the rituals. There's the diamond crane or Zhuan Jiao Jiao.
Right. This is the iconic moment where believers kneel in a long line and the Mazu palanquin passes over them. It's supposed to be a massive blessing.
But visually, that's a nightmare for a wheelchair. You can't kneel. You're much taller than everyone else.
You are a rigid obstacle. If you are in the middle of that line and the palanquin comes, the crowd compresses, people are shoving to get low. You could get crushed, or you could trip up the palanquin bearers. It's dangerous.
So what do? Just sit it out?
No, they adapt. The protocol is very strict. You position yourself at the very front or the very back of the line, and then the human shield comes into play.
The human shield.
Standing participants, usually volunteers or family, will literally surround the wheelchair user. They use their bodies to create a buffer zone, protecting the user from the crushing weight of the crowd.
And the palanquin, it actually goes over them.
It does, and this is the most touching part. Dr. E says that often the palanquin bearers will see the wheelchair. They'll coordinate and physically lift the whole sedan chair higher above their heads, specifically to clear the height of the person in the chair.
That gives me chills. It's like the deity is acknowledging the difficulty of their journey.
It's interpreted exactly that way, a sign of specific care and blessing.
So you've got the blessing. Now, the final hurdle, the exit strategy.
Getting out is harder than getting in.
And Dr. Hsu had a very specific warning about timing.
Yes. Do not try to leave when everyone else leaves. If you try to catch a train right when the pilgrimage ends, you will just be crushed. It's impossible.
So you wait.
You wait. But more importantly, you follow the train station rule. You have to plan your extraction point near a station that actually has elevators and ramps. You can't just hop on any shuttle bus.
And even if you find an accessible bus or taxi.
You have to be prepared for the patient wait. He says to expect a delay of 1, maybe 2 hours just waiting. The demand is just too high. Patience is really the final test of the pilgrimage.
This whole discussion, the ramps, the batteries, the toilets, it all points to a much bigger picture, doesn't it? Dr. Hsu isn't just giving travel tips. He's making a sociological point.
He is. He's talking about the aging society.
Which is a global issue, but it feels so acute here.
We are living in the longest-lived era in human history. The devotees who started walking this pilgrimage 30 or 40 years ago, they're in their 70s and 80s now. Their faith hasn't faded, but their knees have.
So the tradition itself has to update its hardware.
Exactly. Dr. Hsu calls for a modernization for preservation. He points out the dangers in the temples themselves.
Like the high thresholds you have to step over.
High wooden thresholds, stairs with no railings. But specifically, he highlighted the slipper floor danger in temple bathrooms.
From people washing fruit for offerings.
Yes. People wash fruit in the sinks, splashing water everywhere. For a 20-year-old, a wet floor is annoying. For an 80-year-old, a slip on a tile floor can be a life-ending injury. A broken hip at that age is catastrophic.
That's a stark realization. The infrastructure could literally kill the most devout followers.
And his argument is that we don't need to destroy the tradition to fix this. He points to Japan. Their temples are ancient, but they are incredibly accessible.
They've integrated elevators and ramps so well.
And non-slip surfaces that blend right in. Dr. Hsu is saying Taiwan needs to do the same. We can't use tradition as an excuse to exclude the elderly and the disabled.
So, bringing this all back home, for someone listening who might want to do this or just wants to help, what's the big takeaway?
It comes back to that community effort. The source ends with a call for accessibility data.
Crowdsourcing the map.
Exactly. If you're walking and you see a clean, accessible bathroom, mark it. If you see a ramp that isn't on the official map, share it. Build a database for the people coming behind you.
It's about leaving the path better than you found it.
That's it.
You know, hearing all of this, the diapers, the catcher's mitts, the nanny cars, it really shifts my perspective on what a miracle even is.
How so?
Well, we usually look for supernatural miracles, statues moving, sickness vanishing. But hearing about the palanquin bearers lifting the chair higher or the stranger leaving a mosquito coil.
The human element.
Yeah. If faith is eternal, but our bodies are so temporary and fragile, maybe the true miracle is just creating a space where the most vulnerable people can still participate. How we treat the slowest person in the group, that really defines the spirit of the pilgrimage, doesn't it?
I think that's the perfect way to put it. It's the infrastructure of care.
We'll leave you with that thought. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the logistics of faith.
Stay safe out there.